Coincidentally, yesterday, there is a big conference in Phoenix of the League of Cities, and I was asked to speak at the luncheon that was hosted by Resolution Copper. Mining is something that I've been learning more and more about, especially in the last 10 years. It's something I think is a big part of the state's economy. I think we do it better, no matter what the mining is, we do it better than any other nation in the world. And I think there are certain things that are very important to the state. So I saw this story on NPR that the members of the Navajo tribe are very concerned about the delivery and the shipment of uranium on their land and the reopening of a uranium mine. So having that discussion, our Attorney General also with some concerns. We reached out. She was kind enough to say she would love to talk about it. So she joins us now. Thanks again for doing this. It's always good to talk with you.
Hey, Mike. Yeah, thanks for having me. I always look forward to talking to you too.
Yeah, this is one of those topics where I think we all agree that mining is essential. It's something that's absolutely necessary. But then how do we balance the environmental and safety concerns with the need for these minerals to be mined out of the ground? And what's the balance here in your mind?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head, because it really is a balancing act. And you're right. I mean, you talked about copper. I mean, copper was one of Arizona's 5 Cs, right? In the founding of our state, and mining is important. And as precious metals become increasingly important in our economy, we're going to see more and more mining activity. In fact, I think we are seeing that, Mike, across Arizona. My concern with this mine in particular, which is up, it's only 7 miles from the edge of the Grand Canyon and sits right next to the only drinking water supply of the Havasupai Nation, is that there's new science showing that it could endanger the water supply of not only the Havasupai, but many communities along the Grand Canyon Rim and in northern Arizona. So, I've asked the federal government to do basically a supplemental environmental impact statement, EIS, because the last one they did on this mine was 40 years ago.
And so, and not to be too argumentative about it, but the question of it could do that. Obviously, then there's some concerns if it says could, but also, as much as the study hasn't been done in 40 years, the technology and the safety of how mining is done is also improved over those 40 years.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. But there was a recent University of New Mexico study that raised real concerns about the potential for this uranium mine to puncture the aquifer that supplies water to the Havasupai. That also there is more connectivity underground between the aquifers in that area and the Coconino aquifer. So I think the study that I'm asking for would address what you're talking about. I think it would sort of take a look at both the advancements in mining technology, but also juxtapose that against the risk to the water supply of communities in northern Arizona. And Mike, I would add, it's not just the Havasupai who are concerned. That's concerning enough, but these aquifers that the study shows are connected includes Flagstaff. So I think at least what we need is an updated study. I mean, 40 years ago is a long time ago.
Arizona Attorney General Kris is joining us. And the issue, and I think the issue from the other side of this, and I'm not defending them, I'm just saying the issue on the other side is the length of time these studies take, that it seems to be the years and years and years of red tape when everybody agrees that this is necessary. So you're not necessarily saying it needs to be shut down. Is this need an update in technology? Is it safe? I mean, you're just asking those general questions.
Yeah, I'm asking those, and it's a fair point that you raise about how long it takes to do an EIS and how long these studies take. But I think that we can do both. I mean, I think we can get that study done quickly, and make sure that the water supplies of the Havasupai are protected. I mean, Mike, I think the problem is that once the aquifer is breached, it's breached. I mean, the damage is done. It's potentially catastrophic. So when you're weighing the need for mining, the risk is too great to not have at least studied what could happen. And I think I would not be calling for this if I didn't really think it was necessary, and if we didn't have that UNM, University of New Mexico study that showed these risks. And so I've written to the Forest Service and just asked them to do that environmental impact study. And Mike, you know, we're going to see these clashes between mining activity and communities more and more. As you know, we dealt with a situation in which a mining company wanted to put a mine literally in Chino Valley right over the rooftops of a community. And I filed a nuisance lawsuit against that company because I didn't think it was fair to the people who lived there at that moment. I mean, these are people, whether it's the Havasupai or the people in Chino Valley, who, bought a house believing that they were going to live in a community, not next to a mine.
Yeah, I could have this conversation with you for hours. I would love to be able to pick your brain more about your opinions, because when I look at the other side of that, I traveled into the Resolution Copper mine less than a year ago. I went all the way down 6,800 feet. What they are doing in the environmentally friendly way they're doing things, and the water, 600 gallons of water per minute being used in that mine, but it's also being reclaimed, and then they are giving it to farmers and ranchers so that they're not taking it from the water table. I think there are so many positives that can happen, but I understand in unique situations about the concern. Before I let you go, let me just ask you one more question off this topic. Can you give us an update on the fake electors case and what's happening? Why is this not going to happen until 2026? And can you update us on the judge weighing in new protection for the defendants?
Yeah, Mike. So, the judge set a trial date, as you mentioned, for early 2026. We weren't happy about that trial date. We wanted it much, much earlier than that. We were going to be ready to go earlier than that, but obviously we have to abide by that, and we will. We had a hearing on yesterday, or the last 3 days, on what was called an anti-SLAPP motion by the defendants. We obviously do not agree with the defendants that this case should be dismissed. They're trying to dismiss it based on their assertions or claims that this was a political prosecution. It is absolutely not, Mike, a political prosecution. This investigation was done by professional investigators and attorneys. It was an exhaustive investigation, and an independent grand jury came to the conclusion that these defendants, of which there are now 16 left, should be prosecuted for these alleged crimes. Of course, all of these individuals are presumed innocent until proven guilty, but we do think this should go to trial, and so we certainly hope that's where the judge lands on it.
As always, I appreciate these updates, and I would love for it when you have time to come into the studio. Let's spend 30 minutes, a couple of segments, digging into a lot of these topics a little deeper. I think it's an interesting conversation, and I always appreciate you doing it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike. I'll see you soon.
All right, thank you. That is Attorney General Kris Mayes talking about a couple of very important topics here in Arizona.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Catch up on Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast, and click the button in the middle to subscribe.